The use of methamphetamine has skyrocketed over the past several years.
Boredom, loneliness, self-esteem. When you do the drug, all that disappears.
She was a major supplier, making $200,000 or more a week.
Taking a journey back to Ottumwa, Iowa, where everything went down 30 years ago.
Remember this place?
Oh, my God.
Lori Stockdale was addicted to alcohol at age 14 as a result of her mother's influence. Lori needs to get fucking angry at my mom, feel the pain of what happened to her.
What she did was wrong. She
ruined your life. She became a big-time drug dealer. Well, fucking right.
I was tired of living life struggling. Thought I deserved something, you know. And then I got a way you can make a little money. Methamphetamine. When it hit, it's like, all right, I like this. And it just started to snowball. Now, this is me and my husband, Floyd. We are at the river cabin. This is Josh when he was little. It was hard living. We're broke. I mean, we can't afford to go anywhere. Can't afford anything, really. I don't know, I was just stuck in a rut and didn't know how to get out. So when Floyd's brother Mike came down and the meth opportunity came, it just, I don't know, it just rocked my world. When you do the drug, you feel more confident, you feel tougher, you feel involved, you're more social. It gave me so much energy and confidence, and people loved it because it got them out of their boredom and depression. Floyd's brother, Mike, brought me down some more, and then he said, you know what, instead of me just bring it down, let me introduce you to the guy I get it from. This guy pulled up in my driveway in a white Corvette. I'm like, wow. Well, that's a nice car. I'd love to have a car like that. And he has the keys in his hand and the quarter pound in the other hand. He said, here. And he gave me the keys and he gave me a quarter pound. He goes, sell that, car's yours. I mean, it's like something you can't turn down. It was too good to be true type deal. Well, the quarter pound didn't last a long time. It hit so hard around town, everybody wanted more. They had people that want some. It just spread like wildfire.
Lori always had a lot of friends. But I'll tell you, when she was selling drugs, she was extremely popular.
It felt amazing. Absolute magical cure for alcoholism. Because you're so high, you know you're not going to get drunk. Felt like I finally had the answer.
It's kind of pretty addictive right from the get-go.
You do a little line and stay up for 3 or 4 days, you know? So it's more bang for your buck. I just wanted more.
I couldn't sell enough. 25 bucks here, 25 bucks there. The money just came in so fast, so I'm getting all this money and I have nowhere to put it. Didn't have a bank account or anything. I didn't have a safe, but I had this cheap paneling in my cabin that wasn't nailed right, so it kind of stuck out a little bit. So I started stuffing money in there, and I started making pretty good money. My wall was bulging there for a while. I thought, well, You know, I can kind of do the same thing for my friends so they can make a little extra money.
Lori just asked me if I was interested in having my own, and I said, well, sure, why not? She'd front it to me, and I paid for what I paid for it, and then partied with the rest. That's what I thought I was supposed to do.
They gave me some to sell because they loved me and they were making money and they wanted me to make money. You know, I was a welfare mom before meth came in town. Now all of a sudden we got spending money, you know, and it felt really good. Don't tell me that money doesn't bring you happiness, because it does. And it did us.
Everybody was making money. Everybody liked it, everybody's having fun. Selling drugs came fairly easy to me.
Yeah, she's moving her way up. Oh, man, this feels good. Now I got people working for me. Oh, we can do better. I can make more money, get more drugs.
We were starting to sell so much of it. And a guy that we were getting it from locally said he was going to introduce us to his guy. And his guy was out in California. And he was involved with the Mexican cartel. So Floyd went and met the big supplier because Floyd was very intimidating. He was badass and he looked badass. He knew how to talk to big people.
You know, Floyd is the real deal. Floyd would be bad to fight with.
Lori was the brains and the mathematician and all of that stuff, and Floyd was just the muscle. She was intelligent enough to know how to make money work for her.
She became the brains of this big drug operation where she had this badass biker husband of hers do her bidding.
Everybody used to say, no guts, no glory, no Floyd, no Lori. We got involved with the Mexican cartel because we could actually get pretty good deals with them. We started out with 1 pound for $10,000. I could turn around to $40,000 when I got back with it. Some they would haul in from Mexico, but they set up their own lab in California and were making it. So it seemed to be even better than what was coming across the border. The stuff was so good that you had to cut it because it was too pure. We didn't want anybody to get hurt, so we made sure when we gave it to the people selling for us, we also gave them the correct cut to cut it with. So it would tamper it down just a little bit so nobody would OD or anything like that. It was gone so quick. We had to turn around and go right back the next week, but we had enough profit from that 1 pound to get 2 pounds. Within a month's time, we were needing a lot more, and the trips, every time you go out, you know, it's a 3-day driving thing. It was a constant back and forth, so then we brought in other people that we trusted to move bigger amounts themselves, so Floyd wouldn't have to go every time. We didn't want to get detected by anyone seeing us in the same vehicle going out to California, Phoenix, Arizona, you know, a place like that. So we bought a piece of land, laid a slab of cement, built a building to work on our vehicles. Put a car lot in there, S&S Enterprises for Stockton and Stockton. Went to auctions, got some decent cars and hired a couple guys to work in the shop, fix it up so we could sell it.
Because of the low price, big cars are once again selling in a big way.
A lot of them to my friends because they needed vehicles. I just sell, you know, $50 a month, whatever they could afford.
Yeah, she gave my mom a car. She gave me one. Mine was a little 5-speed Mazda.
I was buying a car from her and Floyd. I think I only gave her maybe like $500.
We could also switch out cars if we needed to go to California stuff because the same car going out might be a bad thing. So we wanted to kind of switch it out and use different vehicles too. We started getting 5 pounds a couple times each month in California. I had a guy that I dealt with about 20 miles away from town. I would call him up because he was always good for the money and he always wanted good quantity. It was just a quick turnover. So I'd say something about, hey, I'm gonna come over tonight. I'll bring pizza. How many pizzas you want? Knowing, you know, how many pounds of dope you want. 2. I said, okay. Well, first I gotta do some errands, stop at the store. So he knew to meet me. There was a constant, easy in and out. He didn't know people around here. He didn't deal around here. He had his own territory. We'd have people coming in from Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, buying it and taking it back up. It spread out pretty good.
She had something everybody wanted.
Everybody all of a sudden really loves you more than they ever did. You know, looking back on it was very fake, but it sure didn't seem like it at the time.
You know, got to where everybody and their brother wanted a lot of it.
I started thinking, you know what, I got money now. I need to do something with it so I don't have to sell drugs. Now, I always wanted my own bar, and the Union Station was going up for sale. I bought it for 40 grand, fully stocked. I just wanted people to have a place to go that could have a good time, leave their cares behind, and just enjoy themselves. Miss this place. Bar, bathroom, my dance floors over here. Had a big old shuffleboard table on the wall. Somebody wanted to play shuffleboard. My office is in the back. I named it the Wild Side because Floyd liked Westerns, and we happened to be watching a Western called The Wild Side, and I thought, man, that is a perfect name for a bar.
Lori's was a real biker bar, an actual biker bar.
Friday night, you park the bike right out front, walk in. Bikes over here, bikes around the corner. It was a popular bar. It was a good bar, you know.
I want someplace that everybody felt welcome. We're bikers, you know. They're just a different breed of people. They want to wear their jeans and their leathers, come in and drink and have a good time.
When Lori was in the bar and she had fun, everybody had fun.
I love socializing. I love people. So I hired a lot of my friends. My friend Lisa, now, she's seen me in all different walks of life.
When I started working there and stuff, the people I met there were decent, normal people. Of course, they've got leather coats on, some of them with some big beards or longer hair or whatever it is, but that was normal back then.
I was needing a job. Lori was looking for trustworthy bartenders, ones that wasn't ripping her off every time she turned around. Because if you don't know about bar business, you know, the bartenders will steal you blind.
Yeah, this is where come in my back door. We had the bandstand. It was raised up, so the band would sit up a little higher than everyone.
She would hire these really good bands to come in there, and that place would just be packed with people, you know.
Had plenty of room for dancing. Had tables and chairs set up here. I had a little microphone back behind the bar that I'd sing along with the band once in a while, whether they wanted me to or not. I can't sing.
Lori would have Halloween parties, and that was like her big deal to try to fool everybody.
This is me dressed up for Halloween. Got the wig, and I got heels, and I'm wearing a dress, and it's slid up the side, and looking sexy and all this stuff. So I walk up to the bandstand and said to the drummer, I said, "Hi, Roger." He goes, "Hey, Lori." I'm like, "How'd you know it was me?" He goes, "I watched you walk up here."
She walks like a truck driver. You know, just, Lori, don't do that in the maid's costume.
if there was trouble at the wild side. They handled everything in-house.
Floyd was the muscle and power in case I needed it. I mean, I can pretty much handle my own, but men, you know, don't respect women running shit right away.
He'd stand at the end of the bar, and his beard was long, and it hung down over his arms, and he'd just turn his head.
He would be at one end of the bar, and I'd be at the other, and you'd just see him pulsating. He wanted to murder me. And Lori would be between us, like, calm down, and Floyd, get back. And she's like, Tommy, shut the fuck up.
Tom used to come down and see me. He went to Minneapolis, and then he started doing stand-up, you know, like amateur nights and stuff like that when they had contests in different bars up there.
Nobody would go with me. I had to go to my senior prom with my sister. And, you know, everybody else was making out, so I tackled her and farted on her head. So it turned out okay.
He won a couple, and then he met Roseanne. She was up there listening to him one time.
I left Tacoma because the job I wanted to do was in Hollywood. I met Roseanne when I was 23. I was her middle act at the Comedy Gallery, and so we hit it off.
She liked his style and asked if he's interested in maybe coming to write for Roseanne's show.
She's a little quick to the draw. She screws up a little bit.
She thought I was funny, which is, well, you really want a woman to think about you, because all men know we're good looking, so we already got that.
Ow! Leave me alone! I said, Tom, are you fucking her? He's like, no.
Roseanne and I don't know what you've read, but we are the perfect couple.
He's like, would you? I'm like, hell yeah, I think she's worth like $50 million.
We like the same movies, we read the same books, we wear the same size pants. We're the perfect couple, folks.
This picture is a picture of me and Roseanne. This is the weekend they came to town and then came down to my bar.
She thought Lori was fun. You know, she thought Lori's friends were fun.
He'd have fun. He'd get up with my bands and play drums. And when Roseanne came with him, she actually would get up and sing. Of course, we all know she can't sing, but she'd get up there and try. And everybody was, you know, thought it was cool because she was a huge star back then. Everybody to have fun here. I don't care if they're rich, poor, if they did drugs, they didn't do drugs, if they were country, if they were rock. It was just like a neighborhood bar.
Anybody and everybody came to the wild side. A lot of bikers, a lot of lawyers, a couple of judges come in all the time. Police officers even come in there, off duty.
People knew what went on at the wild side. Well, the cops knew. It wasn't no big secret.
We'd pass it through envelopes, through paper cups, matchbooks, or we'd do it outside or go to the bathroom and do it.
I just told him I don't want to see it. Because I always had to worry about cops or feds or snitches or, you know, you always have that in your mind. I was planning on quitting, but, you know, just like with any addiction, once you're in, it's hard to get out. It's a power thing. It really is. I mean, I'm an addict. I get addicted to a lot of different things, not just drugs. Yeah, it's sad to see it like this. I miss the fun, excitement, just, I just miss it. The only problem with the bar was Floyd. Floyd had a lot of demons. He was a sniper in Vietnam, in the Green Berets. He got shot, and he got released from service. A lot of the Grim Reapers were Vietnam vets. Vietnam really screwed his head up. But the demons wouldn't come out unless he drank. and somebody mentioned the war. But anytime he was drinking, and then the war stuff started, I was the one that got beat up.
If he started drinking hard liquor, then, you know, you never knew what was going to happen. But usually it was Lori that bore the brunt of it. You know, one minute you might all be partying, the next minute, you know, he's dragging her out the door by the hair.
He backhanded her one time. My eyes just got about that big around, but what am I gonna do? You know, he ripped me in half.
We just did our best to try to keep Floyd in line. We would cube him with some meth, put some in his drink, and then he wouldn't be drunk, and he'd just start talking more, and it was kind of like the instant cure, you know, for Floyd.
I was home with Josh, and I got a call from Scotty Inman telling me that Floyd was drinking whiskey. He's heading home drunk and pissed off. And he just walked in and he said, "How many do you want?" I'm like, how many what? He goes, "Bullets." So he storms into the other room where his guns were. And when he did, I grabbed Josh and headed out the door. And I went around my car to get in the driver's side, and Floyd appeared up on the deck with his rifle. He's shot, and it hit the hood of the car. So I ducked down with Josh behind the fender well, and he shot again. I started yelling, oh my God, you hit Josh, you hit Josh. And he stopped shooting. And when he stopped, I just took off. I just ran. Josh was young. He didn't talk that much. It's hard to make sense out of something like that.
And she came over the next day, and she was hiding from him, and so we were both scared. You know, there's very few times I've seen Lori cry.
I don't know if it was stubbornness. I don't know if it was just the abuse wife syndrome thing, because a lot of wives don't leave the abusive husband, or if he was just, I felt sorry for him. When he was sorry the next day, he didn't remember. He needed me there, you know, to take care of him. It wasn't like an everyday thing or every week or anything like that. But when it was either shooting at me, trying to run me over in a car. It's just something that snapped in him. So, can't understand it. In describing her abuse, her effect was flat. She stated, "I don't get mad at people. I don't let things get to me. This is a typical response of a post-traumatic stress and battered wife syndrome, where individuals can experience a disconnectedness and a depersonalization and psychological numbing."
You think you were psychologically numb?
Yes. Yeah. I block things out. I keep things inside. In not attempting to escape, she also participated in anything that would help her relationship be calm and sedate without the beatings. I didn't want Floyd involved in the bar, so I had to find something that he liked, but also stay out of my way. So I went looking for a ranch, because he always wanted horses. We are at my ranch in Tummel, Iowa. I bought this place in 1988. I paid $55,000. It's a beautiful area. It's 150 acres. I surprised Floyd with it because he didn't know about it until I already purchased it. So I came out here and showed it to him, and it's We call it Rolling Hills Ranch because of the rolling hills. We use our meth money to buy everything, obviously.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We started with 2 horses. We ended up with 52. We were racing and training them. Hired Scott Inman to do most of the grunt work because he was really good and he was a hard worker. And he loved the horses.
Floyd says, can you do a duck walk? And I says, what do you mean do a duck walk? He says, I'm looking for somebody to train my horses. He says, but I can't do it because I'm too big and I'm too old. So he had me duck walking, which is where you squat down on your knees or by your knees and squat walk. Just build up your knees. I did that for so long.
I built that barn right there so Scott could put the race horses in nice, clean stalls.
Well, all these
Here we
stalls,
go.
all these stalls are empty.
Bill stall, I know. Put a lot of money into the race horses, hoping to get money back out. But the more stuff you have, the more it costs you. So it took more money. So I had to keep selling meth. I didn't have time to really reflect on what I was doing or anything. But I was starting to enjoy it. We made 100,000 here, 100,000 there. I would carry around, 20 grand in my purse just for spare change type thing. And people with money, they get more respect than people who don't have it.
The thing that I remember most about Lori is she used to drive around in really flashy cars. And like all young girls would see her in those cars and be like, oh, I want that car.
So I'm driving in the East End. I see this big red Jaguar, and whoa! And then here's Lori out there hosing this thing off.
I told her nobody in this town has a Jaguar.
I said, why don't you get a vanity plate that says, bust me?
I had a little Mazda RX-7, and so, here she come pulled up in that, and I just pull up next to her. I said to her one time, I said, oh, Lori, somebody just said that my car looked better than yours. No, they did not. No way.
We just race around town, and we'd race the cops.
She never won. She didn't ever win. I always won them, no.
She cheated. She tried to run me off the damn road.
No, I didn't. I tried. I tried to win, but no, her car was a pretty nice one.
They had everything, just had everything, and I'm living in some dive. To say I wasn't jealous would be a lie, because of course I was.
A lot of my friends were on welfare, had little kids. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll get into real estate. If I buy a house pretty cheap, I can fix it up and sell it to my friends on payments. So I started buying houses like at auctions and stuff, and I put them on Section 8 housing. So I was getting government checks for each house, and I was taking that check and using it as a house payment for my friend. So they would own the house once I had what I paid for it. I wanted them to own their own home.
She knew that I just had a baby and asked me if I, needed a place to live. And I said, sure, yeah. And she said, well, I got a place that we can remodel and you and your husband and daughter can live there.
And needed a place to stay at one time. And she had just bought this house, so I moved in there.
Lori was always real generous. I mean, she always did a lot of things for all the community.
It was like almost like a Robin Hood scenario, kind of,
All this meth comes in and goes into the rental, housing industry. That goes into licensing, insurance, taxes, Social Security. I mean, all this money I made, I spent in the same town. I bought houses in the same town. I employed people in that town. So money was being spread out. I was helping my friends and everything else, but I don't know if I thought my friends were needy because they didn't have a lot, so I was helping them, or if I was a needy one And helping them made me feel better. I didn't want to be a drug dealer all my life. But once you have so much stuff, like the bar, the car lot, the ranch, you're paying a lot. It just snowballs, you know. We were needing a lot more quantity. My first 10-pound batch, I had 2 guys go out and get it. The driver liked to smoke pot. So while he was out there, he picked up a pound of pot. He had the 10 pounds of meth in a bag with like hamburger wrappers and stuff on top, trash on top of it. They got stopped on the way back in Utah, some kind of a roadblock check or something. And the dog smelled the marijuana. They opened the trunk, there was pot underneath the spare tire. So then they tore the car apart and found the 10 pounds of meth. They took him to the jail there in Utah. I had to hire a bondsman and come up with $50,000 to get him out of jail and hire a lawyer. They ended up doing 30 days. But then we just thought, okay, well, we got lucky on that one. And that cost us 150 grand right there. Plus, they had 10 pounds of dope in the car and a pound of weed. We lost all the money, so we needed to do something to build it back up and not have to travel across the country. That was kind of our turning point right there. We decided to cook our own on our property so we wouldn't have to drive to California, you know, to get it. So I ended up hiring my own chemist to order a whole meth lab out of a catalog. So we got the catalog out, started ordering and everything, and I just ordered it under our S&S Enterprises was my car lot name. They delivered the equipment by UPS. He put it all together. And the lab cost, you know, about 30 grand. And it was all computerized. It was a computerized lab. It was enclosed, had all the test tubes, the Pyrex, everything. We would order P2P, which came in 55-gallon drums from Albuquerque. And that makes the real methamphetamine. That is the Breaking Bad methamphetamine. Well, we went up the hill of our property, and we took the dozer up there and dug out a big hole where we could put the little camper in, so it was covered if anybody flew over.
It wasn't just the bathtub gear that these hillbillies make the meth and get the Sudafed for the drugstore. It was a laboratory down there.
I'd like to sell the best. I wanted the best. It took a chemist 3 days to cook a good batch. Then he would shoot it up to make sure it was a good batch. If it killed him, I didn't want to kill my friends. So that was the deal. And then he'd bring it down when it was done, and he was gone. So, you know, nobody saw him, nobody knew he's there, nobody knew anything about it. Off 10 pounds of meth, we could make $400,000. We could make a couple batches a week, so it was doubling the product. You know, if you drive to California, it takes a week to go out and then come back. Well, now, every 3 days, he can go up and make more.
Methamphetamine addiction is now an epidemic across the Midwest.
It was once a West Coast problem, manufactured mainly by motorcycle gangs in California.
People have friends everywhere, and it just spread pretty quick. We had a truck driver on call at any time we needed him to haul anything out. And yeah, so I couldn't tell you exactly how many states. It could be in the whole United States.
If you had to locate ground zero in the explosive use of a killer drug called methamphetamine, would you name the state of Iowa?
She could buy whatever she wanted. She even had airplanes. You know, she had ultralights. It was just crazy.
I mean, I had diamonds, huge diamonds on every finger.
She told me if I wanted a bunch of diamonds, how to get them. And it wasn't like from selling drugs.
We had paintball wars. We had people coming out, clear out of state to do paintballs.
If you went there, you might as well be planning on staying 2 or 3, 4 days, partying just every day, all night long. I mean, there was no holding back.
We three, Tom, Lori, and me, are very compulsive. And then add crank to that or whatever, it's, you know, it's not a good deal.
I think you did a good job with these guys.
Sure, I held them there for you.
Tom and Roseanne came to town, and they were staying at my dad's house.
Lori'd open her purse, and she goes, what do you want? I go, what do you got? She'd have every kind of drug.
I hooked him up with an 8-ball of Peruvian flake cocaine, which is really top line. And I get the mirror out for him so he can get him a line, so he dumps this 8-ball out on the mirror. Start chopping it up and everything. So we're all sitting around, you know, waiting for a line too, because, you know, you always share when you get stuff. So he takes it and then he just snorts the whole 8-ball. All of it. Which is crazy because that's a lot of cocaine at one time. So he left, and then I get a phone call from Roseanne because he went back to Dad's house, and she goes, what'd you do to your brother? And I'm like, well, I didn't do anything to my brother. Why? Well, he was laying in bed, and he's turning all red, shaking, and, you know, well, yeah, he did an 8-ball of cocaine. But I didn't want to tell her that, you know, because she wasn't into cocaine. That was crazy. I'll never forget that. I'm like, dang. And I've been doing drugs all my life, and I wouldn't do an 8-ball of cocaine. Roseanne finally put her foot down, and she said, it's either you get off cocaine and I'll marry you and take your last name, but otherwise, no. So he went into rehab, recovery, whatever, and got away from it, and then they got married.
How about a nice kiss?
I went into rehab. I just knew I cannot do drugs, I cannot drink, I cannot do anything. I just put my head down and one day at a time. For the next year, I did not want to see my sister. She was a drug dealer.
He wanted me to stop selling smoke, just like somebody quit smoking, and they bitch about the cigarette smoke too. I said, Tom, stay the fuck out of my life, okay? Don't preach to me, you know.
She was like, I'm a kingpin, I'm not an addict.
It was just so easy to bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was too easy. I wasn't thinking how it was going to affect people's families or, you know, even my own.
Queen of Beth is how people that don't know my mom see my mom. She had this reign of, you know, drug dealing and, you know, cars and drugs and, you know, lavish living or whatever. But, you know, from the inside looking out, she was just my mom, Lori. I was kind of a mama's boy. I'd go to the store with my mom. We'd go run errands. Honestly, I would probably go with her on her drug deals, but, you know, not really know it.
I tried to keep the drugs away from Josh so he didn't see them. I didn't have anything laying out if he was home. If we were gonna sit at the table and do lines or something, you know, I'd send him outside. But kids are smart. They know something's going on.
There's a lot of times where she'd be like, oh, stay up in your room or, you know, stay outside. You know, they wanted to keep me occupied.
I remember he asked me one time, I was taking him to school, Mom, he says, everybody's selling something. He says, Kimmy, his little friend, Kimmy is selling candy bars, Sandra's selling candles, and we're selling little bags of tea. He says, how come we're selling little bags of tea, Mom? I'm like, uh-oh. I said, well, it's imported.
After I had seen him doing it, I kind of put two and two together. I'd asked my mom to stop, and she probably gave me some sort of bullshit answer, you know, like that she wasn't doing it, or, you know, or it's not a big deal.
It's hard to pay a lot of attention to your kids when you got a lot of people in the house and a lot of chaos going on.
From a very young age, my parents were drug users. When I was young, it was hidden from me. And it was hidden as best it could be hidden, but you still knew. There was a lot of times we were out late doing things that, you know, a second grader, third grader shouldn't have been.
Floyd was actually my mom's cousin. She was a single mom with 5 kids, and I think she did what she needed to do to survive, and part of that was selling meth. Everybody in our house knew that that's what, you know, my mom did.
I don't even remember what happened, but I decided to shoot up one night, and it was 10 times the high that was snorting it to me, and I knew I'd never snort another line, and I don't think I did. I was just selling enough to support my habit. My habit got pretty expensive, and I lost everything we owned. I don't know how many times. I really don't. I drugged my son to some, you know, the worst places you can take your kids. I knew. I knew I didn't deserve a better life, but I knew my son did. It got to where I couldn't hardly look him in the eye because I see the pain on that kid's face, you know, and I had to do more. It was like, I can't look at that. I can't stay sober. I've tried. And so, you know, I really thought I was probably going to have to die from it or kill myself.
Drug addiction is a disease. It's always very selfish when it affects kids. Growing up, when I was young, I didn't have a mother in my house because of addiction. I wish I had that. But this is what we do. If we aren't aware, we repeat the mistakes.
Wild woman. Right.
I never realized it was a problem because everybody seemed to be having a good time. You know,
because nobody was honest with you.
Right, right.
Everybody was pumping you up because you had the dope.
Yeah.
Everybody was who you wanted. They thought you wanted them to be.
When you start using drugs, in my opinion, it's just a snowball effect. And you use the drugs and you can afford the drugs at the beginning, but then you get an addiction. And now maybe you're stealing to get the drugs, or you're pawning your things to get the drugs. And you have a huge problem.
Drugs are menacing our society. Nancy's joining me because the message this evening is not my message, but ours.
It was almost a ripe, perfect storm for that to take place economically, with what was happening in the community.
They're threatening our values and undercutting our institutions. They're killing our children.
Methamphetamine is one of the most deadliest, degrading drug I've ever seen.
What will you do when someone offers you drugs?
If we face this evil, this will be nothing but a handful of useless chemicals.
Then all of a sudden, they put a government stop on the P2P. You had to actually go through a screening and fill out all these forms. It's kind of like buying a gun in a way, in order to get the chemical. So we stopped cooking in the lab, but we ended up going back out to California. But then things started getting bad.
I think she was being a little too out there with it. She was out there cutting lines out on her hood of her car, which to me was a little outrageous for Lori. And I call her on that, and she get mad at me for that. Shit rolls downhill, you know, and it's gonna come back on you, and she didn't want to hear that, you know.
I was out there on the ranch. Me and my mom both seen like brake lights for 1 second low to the ground, and so we left. And then I called Lori and told her. She's like, "Oh wow, woman, you're so paranoid."
We noticed certain things: cops, strange cars, helicopters, and then once in a while somebody come in the bar that looked, you know, different. But I got along good with the cops. And my stepdad was a cop. He was the chief of detectives. My cousin was a cop. He ended up being chief of police. So I thought, as long as nobody was getting hurt and it wasn't being, you know, thrown out in where everybody could see it, whatever, they just kind of overlooked it.
Lori thought that law enforcement was either turning a blind eye or didn't care about her activities. But what Lori didn't know is that couldn't be further from the truth.